Now this video will probably be public for like a day, and then it will go unlisted, but it will be available on my Patreon. Okay, so basically I'll talk a little bit about Laguz. So on my walking meditations, there are certain runes that have really activated the sky. Therisas was one, and another one was Bricano, and yesterday Laguz. Laguz had an image of Odin, where he looks like he's eating a mushroom, a psychedelic, and he looks high actually, and he's carrying flowers. I think Laguz also can mean the sacred mead that we blend with the divine soul, basically. And in Old Norse, that used to be seen as a divine feminine. So the way that people describe Creator of All put a feminine on it. So it's like merging with all that is, but it had like a feminine goddess energy to it. And I think the reason they did that is because the divine feminine goddess feels so similar to Creator of All. And you can see here Odin holding flowers. He's obviously taken some mushrooms. And his eyes is rolled back. You know, you can kind of see it's rolled back. And he looks just out of it. That came on the Laguz. So when you go on these walking meditations, you will get signs that corresponds to the meaning, to give you maybe a deeper perspective. I also like how Odin here is riding what looks like a griffin. I have a photo. And he has his wizard hat on. The wizard hat is also a symbol of the pineal gland and seeking the divine. Here you can see it looks like a lion. In this photo you can see it actually looks like the lion has wings, so it could be a griffin. His face looks like the trident. And Odin was wearing this triskel on my Bricano walk. So, and I think that the triskel has similar meaning to obviously the triple spiral, the trident, and also the Valknut as well. So I'm trying to do some research into it, but I actually think the meaning is as simple as Creator of All. So we don't forget that it's actually Creator of All that is the Holy Grail in everything that we do. You know, we seek the gods, but they are gods because they're connected to Creator of All. They have this Holy Grail fully integrated in their consciousness. And that's really important to remember. So when I went on my Freya walk with Fehu, I saw a hawk. And then the cat situation happened that I talk about. And if you follow this series on my Patreon, I've shared that story. But have a look at what animal turned up on my Laguz walk. And this koala, even though I live in Australia, it's not common to see. It's not common to see a koala in the suburb, on a walk in the suburb. And if it had been higher up in a tree, I wouldn't have seen it. They live in eucalyptus trees. And Laguz is the rune for dream time. And koala sleeps 20 hours a day. But that's not where the strange, I'm not going to call it coincidences, but the synchronicities end, because it's more. I was looking up what is the meaning of koala, and it means no water. That's what the name that Aboriginals gave koalas, because they drink very little water. And the reason they don't have to drink so much water is because they get a lot from the eucalyptus. They actually get most of their water through the eucalyptus leaves. Basically, that's all they eat. And Laguz meaning water, koala meaning no water, that is then the yin and the yang. So Laguz as a meaning, if you pull it in a reading, means that you need to have balance between your yin and your yang, your ambition and your, I don't know what's the opposite of ambition. It's when we're just at peace with what we have. There has to be you know, we're charging ahead a lot in our lives, but what about pulling back? You know, there needs to be balance in our lives, the yin and the yang. And so Laguz really speaks of divine balance as well. It's actually very similar to the Temperance Tarot card. But I thought I'd look here as well and I'm going to show you one last symbol before I end this video. But I'm going to pull a card for Laguz. Creator Wall shows the deepest meaning of Laguz in the highest and best way with grace and ease. Crown chakra is at the bottom, so it's actually connected to the crown chakra, and the crown chakra is where we receive the creator wall as well. So the divine feminine is very similar to the energy of creator wall. It's very high vibrational, but creator wall is all that is. It's not connected specifically to a divine feminine more than a divine masculine. It's just that when I've encountered Frigga's magic, she's felt very similar to Creator Wall, so she really uses this energy very easily. And third eye chakra, which is the seat of the soul, basically. So these two chakras, third eye and the crown chakra, is maybe the two most important chakras when connecting to Creator Wall, that is pure creation energy. And that's what Laguz is. So it actually is a symbol of Creator Wall. And so the yin and the yang, it's actually also a symbol of Creator Wall. It's a full picture, basically. It's water and no water. It's actually nothing exists outside of Creator. So that's basically what the meaning of Laguz is. So we're always in divine flow. It's just when we meditate, we become more increasingly aware of this. Earlier in the day, I had pulled stories out again. And I was working a little bit with the rune, and I looked outside the window and the clouds started acting weird again. It is the rune really asks you to look up to the sky. And this horse appeared. There was first a face, the face disappeared, and I got the camera ready just in time, and you could see the horse. There's actually a horse below it as well. So it looks like it actually has a foal. But what a powerful symbol. And I have actually connected horse, the symbol, also to Creator Wall, because I have had so many dreams of horses, and it's always been about being able to steer the direction of my life without sabotaging it. That's kind of been the message. So sometimes I can ride it really well, sometimes I'm just clumsy. But it has to do with divine flow, basically, and being one with this horse that's the Creator Wall. And I am deeply grateful for these signs. So when you connect to the runes, you will start getting these signs. They're basically just, the runes don't have power more than the power that you give them. So for example, if you really want to connect to Creator Wall and the deities, they're more than willing to connect. Like, they're waiting for us, all of us, to wake up, basically. So once we start picking the runes and we start experiencing these phenomena, our own hearts actually begin to heal as well. And that's another meaning of Laguz, because Laguz is also our blood. And blood and blood cells is deeply connected to how we feel. So if we feel loved, if we feel taken care of and nourished, our blood can operate really well in our cells and in our bodies, and it just is deeply connected to our feelings. So it's very important that we release negative emotions. And we can do that simply by asking Creator's truth, perspective and understanding on it. And we'll find that we are much more loved and cared for than we realize. And then a lot of the negative, dark emotions can start falling away from us. Because this eye here, I really love this eye because it's the eye in the sky. It's Creator Wall, basically. And we are being taken care of, even if we don't feel like that sometimes. But once we start noticing how careful we actually are, of course, then we are already then connected to greater wall, because this is basically what the whole end game of our lives is. It's actually meant to be that we have this realization. The Laguz is the yin and the yang, it's greater wall, it's all that is. It is a Holy Grail. So it is actually maybe the most spiritual rune in the whole, in all of it. It actually is, I would say it's a hanged man. And the hanged man is deeply misunderstood, which is also what I'm going to talk about as well. But that will be a little later. But it's connected to this Holy Grail pineal gland activation as well. So guys, with that I'm going to say goodbye to you guys for now, and I will keep blogging about these walking meditations and the meaning of the runes. They are, of course, the reason Odin hung on the tree, metaphorically speaking. He wanted to activate his own pineal gland. Laguz is part of that whole. It's basically when we achieve it one way or the other, we will achieve it. And that's when we are unified with our soul and create a wall. Okay guys, bye bye.